These 50 to 60 bottles is every bottle I got in the month of April. Now, it's not all whiskey. There's lots of things here. There's some tequila. There's some bourbon creams. Heck, there's even a bottle of Boone's Farm over there. So we've got a lot to go through and a lot to try because there are a lot of new things here that I have never tried before. So let's get into it. There's so much whiskey, I can't even fit it all on the desk and keep it off the screen. We're gonna run through quite a few of these really fast because you've probably seen these, you've probably tried these. These are some of the Taylor bottles I bought last month. This is a bottle of VH Taylor, probably the cheapest one I've ever seen. At about $45, picked this guy up at Barrelheads in Owensboro when we were up there for our Green River pick. This is a 12-year Willet Purple Top. Never had a 12-year Willet Purple Top before, at least definitely never owned one. Now I do. Love these Willet Purple Tops. Not a big fan of the price. Like, they are just stupidly expensive, but I found a pretty good deal on this one. I don't remember what it was. We bought a bunch of bottles and kind of worked out a bundle price, but picked this one up at Spillway after the lottery was over. Everybody went through, got all the bottles they want. I went back through just to see what was left. This 12-year Willet Purple Top was there, along with this 7-year rye. Now, I'm not gonna open the 7-year rye just yet because I have a 7-year rye open. Different barrel, but I don't wanna have two of those open at one time. But we did try this Willet Purple Top on the last filming of this video that y'all didn't get to see, and it's fantastic. Like, Willet is so interesting. Now, I haven't been there, but I think they use a stripping column for their distillation and then run it through a pot still, and you just get so much interesting grain influence on this. Same way Frey Ranch is doing their stuff, and Frey Ranch is fantastic as well, although not quite the same thing as this. More of a craft version of this, maybe. Really enjoy these Willet Purple Tops, just don't like the price. Next up are a couple of bottles from Big Creek Distilling over in Dahlonega, Georgia. I picked up one of these on a hunt. I think it was the small batch here. And the other one was gifted to me by someone at Spillway. And so I haven't had their small batch, and this is definitely a little dusty, little doughy. Craft for sure, but really good craft. Like, I like that kind of dusty, doughy, dark fruit finish on it. Maybe not for everybody. Like, you gotta be into some of those more crafty, interesting flavors, but a really good whiskey. Now, the single barrel, though, I'm expecting to be a little more robust. This single barrel comes in at 125 proof. I think this one is 97 proof on that one. Definitely more intense. A lot of the same flavors as you would expect. A little more doughy, soft, kind of sweet oak all the way through, and those same kind of dark fruit flavors on the finish. I think we're gonna be able to get some good single barrels from Big Creek at some point in the future. We've talked about going up there and buying some single barrels because I think they've got some good stuff to offer. Just haven't made it happen, but glad to have these bottles. Excited to be able to share these with folks. So the next are a couple of bottles from Wilderness Trail. Now, I was invited to go up there recently. We're trying to learn more about distillation to get our own distillery started. And I was able to go out and hang out with Dr. Pat from Wilderness Trail and learn a ton about fermentation. But I had not found a whole lot about this brand that I was just super excited about. Like, they've got some whiskey, the whiskey's good. I'm usually chasing something extremely distinct or unique that I can share with folks. And I was able to try barrel number 1. And I don't remember the age, but this distillery's not that old. And so barrel number 1 is really getting to that kind of perfect mark for Kentucky bourbon, and it was fantastic. I know they've got a lot of really good things in front of them, and I got these cask strength. This is their bourbon, this is their wheater, and so we grabbed both of these while we were up there, and I want to give them a try because I don't think I've had their cask strength stuff. All right, it smells good. Smells like it's got a little bit of that kind of funky wheat to it. And it is that. Like, it almost comes across like a cinnamon note. I think that might be a little barrel char on this one. Was this a single barrel? Family Reserve cask strength. I don't know if it's a single barrel, but it's got a little of that barrel char on it, kind of coming across a little cinnamon with a little bit of kind of funky wheat. This is their just good old fashioned bourbon right here at cask strength. Oh, that smells exceptional. Now we found something though. Like, that is fantastic. I don't know how old this is, but this has a lot of interesting things going on. Kind of dark, well-rounded sugars, a little burst of like a soft kind of fruit note, and then it kind of dissipates into like a really dark caramel, almost cola note if they had those kind of dark sweetness to them, which is a weird way of describing it, I know. Hopefully y'all understand what I'm talking about. That's the best thing I've ever had from Wilderness Trail. That's the type of bottle that gets me excited about their brand. Surprisingly, like, I love this. This is good. This has some flavors that maybe are not for everybody, at least this particular bottle. This one though, I think we can get excited about that. A lot more respect for Wilderness Trail. I'm definitely going to continue to try to explore their offerings to see if we can find more things that we're excited about, but we've definitely found one here. Next is a bottle of Boone's Farm Sangria. Why do we have this? My wife was reminiscing about her youth and wanted a bottle of Boone's Farm, and so I'm not gonna open it. I'll save this for her. I'm not gonna ruin their opportunity to tap into some Boone's Farm. And now we have a few bottles of tequila. I'm not a big tequila fan, and if you just got mad that I called them tequilas, then congratulations, you found out early that you're in the wrong place, because it's not that serious. I'm starting to kind of tiptoe back into them a little bit. I've been able to enjoy some of them without them making me sick to my stomach. And so I have tried these, and these were good. I did enjoy these. Now, I am far from a tequila expert, so don't take me liking these as some sort of endorsement of these tequilas. I have tried very little when it comes to tequila. And so for me, the more I like a tequila is really dependent on it having less flavor, not more. And so I'm not like really getting in there and enjoying all the subtlety and nuance. And so this is a very light, very easy to drink tequila. We have the Blanco, a Reposado, and an Añejo. And surprisingly, this is the first Añejo I've ever tried that I actually did enjoy. But that's like a club of 2 or 3 at this point. I'm not saying these are great. I'm just saying they were pretty good to me, and these are definitely gonna get used to make some margaritas or something. Next are a few small brands that I wanted to try. Is this RY3 or is it rye? I don't know, but their cigar blend is pretty good. Like, it's one of my favorite, like, says cigar blend on it kind of releases, although there's a lot of argument over what a cigar blend is. This is their rye whiskey finished in rum barrels at 120 proof points there. Now, I'm starting to really like rums. I typically like a light rum finished in some sort of whiskey barrel. So the one we got from Rolling Fork, finished in Weller barrels, absolutely fantastic. I've got another one that we'll talk about here in just a minute. So this being a rye whiskey finished in rum barrels actually kind of has that same note. Like, it smells just like a rum finished in a rye barrel. Obviously on the palate, it's a little more whiskey forward. That rum does come through first, and then it dissipates into a nice, light, soft, kind of spicy rye. That's really good. Not a super spicy rye, but you know what I'm saying. You get kind of those rye spices on the finish. That's a really nice bottle. And if you like some of these rums finished in ryes, you're gonna like that rye finished in rum for sure. Watershed. We've definitely talked about doing some stuff with Watershed. I think we're gonna get up there and try to do some picks with Watershed here this summer while we're in the Ohio area, Columbus, Ohio area. This one is their straight bourbon limited release, batch number 3 at 122.2 proof. Uncut, unfiltered, made in Ohio, so assuming completely their distillate. Little soft oakiness, like just kind of a sawdust note to it a little bit, which sounds unpleasant, but it's not. Like, it's just a nice soft oak. Not as much of that on the palate. It does come through a little dry in the mid palate, but that's a journey right there. Little vanilla up front, a little bit of that oak coming through in the mid palate, and then it's just all like this drying soft oak all the way through. Actually quite pleasant. Not the most like robust, flavorful. Like, when I really, really enjoy a whiskey, when I find one I just absolutely love, it kind of evolves in 3 ways. Like, what it hits you with up front, what it hits you with on the mid palate, and what it leaves you with after you've consumed it. Lots of times the ones I like the most hit me with like different flavor profiles at each of those stages. And this one's not really doing that. So it's not complex in that way. It is complex in like the overall texture's really evolving. It's kind of that dusty sweet caramel, vanilla, all the way through, but the texture, it's sweet up front, it's a little bit kind of dry and just soft tannic in the middle, and then it leaves you with a really dry tannic finish. I really like it. I like that expression. I'm really starting to try for these types of bottles. I'm trying to start enjoying them for what they are, right? And not compare them necessarily to something else. Like, is this better than X? Because it's not always about that, right? Is this good on its own merit for some interesting reason? And I think a lot of folks out there are like that. A lot of folks are recommending bottles that I'm like, that's not the best bottle you can buy for that price, or that's not something I'd just come back to overall. But if you just sit down and enjoy it for what it is, I think you can have a lot more pleasure with these bottles. A comparison is the thief of joy. And that right there, that bottle is really good. It might not be better than some other bottle you could get at that price, but I really enjoyed it. So now we've got a Fiddler Wheated. We have been talking to ASW. I want to do some stuff with ASW. A lot of the bottles I've bought from them or have tried or people have given me samples of have been French oak finished. You're running a risky game trying to get me to like a French oak finish. So when I saw this wheated, I grabbed it. Okay, so a lot of wheaters have a little bit of like a funky wheat, which I'm into funky wheat. I like that. I don't like it as much as say like a Weller that has no funk on it. This is like dark sweetness, so dark fruit, like cherry notes on the nose. Oh, it gives you that on the palate. I gotta go back to that. It's not quite as complex as say an Antique 107. So it's a 4-barrel blend, 25% of it was double oak, so they added a little more oak. 92 proof, that's why it's not as complex. I gotta get a higher proof of that. I really like that. Now it might get worse high proof, sometimes that happens. I'm getting a little dark red fruit, just subtle hints of dark red fruit. It's very kind of, you know, sweet vanilla forward. A lot of good things going on that. I just need it at a higher proof point. And is this their distillate? No, it's MGP. All right, this next group here is a lot of barrel picks that we will have coming up for the Brewzle Club. Now, some of these are in the next release, and this is not everything in the next release. These are just the ones that have arrived during the course of this month. So we've got a couple of, you know, Jack single barrel picks, single barrel proofs, excuse me. This one in particular here is the one we were able to go there and try. Both of those are exceptional. This one's going to be fantastic. I have not popped it and opened it yet since it's been bottled. We will have a tasting video. If you're in the Patreon, if you're in the Brewzle Club and you have access to buy these, you'll have a video going over me trying all the ones that are in this drop. These right here are the 100% wheat whiskeys from Old Soul. These are the bottles that were picked and bottled at the takeover before the Spillway event. We do have a couple of these coming for the club, and later at some point in the future, a couple of cask strength. These are 100 proof. The ones we've got for the club are 100 proof as well. The real interesting, like super standout ones here that I had to try when they came in are these three right here. First, we have the first ever pick that I've been involved in that turned out to be an OBSO, I believe. Four Roses has, is it 5 different yeast strains, 2 different mash bills? So the E and the B, E being the higher rye mash bill, I believe. I may be wrong. I'm just going from memory here. I'm winging it. But this is the first time I've picked an OBSO. Is that like strawberry jam? Like, it is sweet. Red fruit, kind of soft. And it delivers on all of that. I'm a firm believer in OESVs. That might be the best Four Roses pick I've been on. I don't know. I will have to go back and try them. It's so different than all of the other ones we've picked. It's really soft, it's really subtle, and it's absolutely fantastic. That would probably be like the big standout for me. But I've had several folks over, and I've given them that one, and they loved that one. But their real standout was this Old Forester single barrel proof. This guy clocks in at 135.9 proof points, I believe it is, 135.9. There's nothing subtle about that. Like, that is just thick and chewy, and so you get all those like kind of floral fruity notes that I get from a lot of Old Forester stuff, but it's all kind of cloaked in this. I use cola a lot because that's where it's not cola on this one though. It's headed in that direction, but it's really like kind of a dark brown sugar. I don't have a good description for that flavor. It is really good, and I think people are gonna really love that one as well. And maybe if you're not into like that red fruit subtleness, if you want something to slap you around a little bit, that one is definitely going to be there because it's got some subtlety to it, but you gotta get past that slap in the face at 135 proof. Now, this one is our second pick from Rolling Fork. We had the previous one that happened a long time ago. Like that, you had to have been early in the club to get that one. And it was finished in Weller barrel. Still probably my favorite rum I've ever had in my entire life. But that also could be, you know, just nostalgia. I've had some good rum since then. And this is a complete different experience from that. Now that one I think was a 6-year Venezuelan rum. So it was a really light rum, finished in those Weller barrels, a lot of subtlety and nuance. This one is Trinidad. So this is a 6-year Trinidad rum finished in rye whiskey barrels. So I don't know if it was rye bourbon or, you know, high rye. I would assume it's an actual rye whiskey. They would have said high rye bourbon. This one's got a lot of like more of those kind of scorched caramel, dark, kind of molasses notes that you get on a lot of rum. Oh, it is all of that. And then just a nice, bright, sweet rye spice on the finish. If you would have asked me a few years ago, those kind of scorched sugar, molasses notes are not something I'm typically looking for. If you're that, this might not be for you. Although this could be the thing, like me, that changes your mind about those notes. Normally when I have that flavor, I don't like it because that's all I get. This one is still really subtle and complex. Next up are a couple of bottles that I picked to try together for a reason. We'll talk about that reason here in a second. This one is the new Detling 6-year rye that he jacked the price of it up. I don't love that, but if that's what they're going for on the secondary, then I would rather him get it than some flipper. Although I think a lot of his bottles were going for that 200 plus price point on the secondary market. So he put this one at 200 plus MSRP, and now this one's going for 500 plus on the secondary market. So that's economics 101 right there. I keep saying this, but this is not anything derogatory toward Detling. I just want to make sure if you're new here, you understand this. With Detling, he really leans into those like heavy roasted malts. He gets a lot of coffee notes, a lot of like dark chocolate notes on his whiskey, which are not notes I'm typically looking for, right? That's not my flavor profile. I like complex and bright and fruity and sweet whiskeys. And this has some of that sometimes, like some of his stuff does, but it's just buried in all of these like dark, kind of heavy notes. Like coffee grounds up front to me that dissipate real quick into dark chocolate, and then it's just all the way sprinkled through is a nice light rye spice. I think the rye spice holds up better to those dark chocolate coffee notes than bourbon does. We picked a single barrel from him last year, a couple of single barrels. One of them was his like evolutionary step toward this whiskey. And so it was a high rye bourbon, had a lot of this same rye spice on it, although not quite as much. Up until this point, that had been the best thing that I had had from Detling. So if you like this kind of dark chocolate, coffee ground notes, I think this is the best thing Detling has done. Now this one is Revenuer's Reserve from Leaper's Fork. I had had some Leaper's Fork bonded stuff, and it's fine, it's good, it's good. It's craft good, it's got flavors that I have a hard time recommending to folks. And honestly, I learned a lot of lessons from Detling, from our video there, from us interacting with the community, and how much excitement there is around the bottle. Really, a lot of those lessons are, well, there's a lot of people that like a lot of different things than you do. And so what I'm trying to do is make sure we focus on quality whiskey that we think is made very well, good stories, good people that are doing things the right way, and then let y'all decide ultimately if you like the whiskey or not. And so don't just like go all in on stuff that my palate likes. Go all in on stuff that is made by cool people that are doing it the right way, that you know it's a quality product, whether the profile fits you or not. Leaper's Fork, like I said, I had some of their bonded stuff. It's good. I needed more out of it, and they came to our festival last year and they brought a single barrel pick, which was my craft whiskey of the year. And it's my craft whiskey of the year because it changed my mind about so many things, right? That dark raisin flavor profile, really complex, intense whiskey that might not be for everybody, but it was just beautiful. Like that particular single barrel was absolutely fantastic. I have a hard time recommending stuff that I don't think everybody will like, because we got people that watch this of all different levels of whiskey consumption. And I don't want you to go spend your hard-earned money, especially if you're buying one bottle every now and then, on something that you're not gonna like. This may not be for everybody, but this is for me in my journey right now. Now, this is the Revenuers Reserve. This was a limited release they did. I'm not sure you can go out and get another bottle of this. They might have some at the gift shop. That's where I got this one. Lee, who founded Leaper's Fork, I think it was a great uncle or something like that, was a revenuer, and he was actually murdered because he busted a ton of moonshine rings, and they finally just took him out. And so this was something they did with the local city and the police enforcement to kind of commemorate his uncle. It's not as much dark chocolate coffee, which I could get on board with. It's sweeter, it's brighter, it's a little more red fruit forward, it's a little more raisin, date, plum, that kind of thing. You might get a little bit of chocolate on it sometimes with some of their barrels, but it is brighter, sweeter. So I got a little chocolate on that taste, although not the first one. I really like this stuff. I like the red fruit forwardness of it. I'm starting to really get into the kind of raisiny notes in a lot of different bourbons. This one, not as like sun-made sweet raisins as the single barrel, but in that similar vein. So we went up there, we bought 3 single barrels from them we've got coming. I think folks are really going to enjoy them. I'm looking forward to everybody's feedback on those 3 single barrels, because we bought a bourbon, a Tennessee whiskey, and a rye, all with kind of similar flavor notes with obvious differences between the mash bills. And so if you can't find something like this, I think something like this might be your next best bet. These are the type of distilleries we're super excited about. We just went there recently, we filmed some stuff. That's where I grabbed this bottle, but I think this is probably that next distillery that folks are gonna start falling in love with if you like that kind of really interesting craft whiskey that's made the right way. Next are a couple of bottles here that arrived from Dark Arts. Supposedly these are finished in Mizunara oak staves, and what they did was very similar to our Master Blender series, if you watch that here. We thought it was a really good idea, and this is kind of testament to that, right? I'm not saying they copied the idea, but it's a similar idea to what we had there. And if they did copy the idea, great, copy the idea. All ideas are to be copied, especially if they're good. So they had a similar idea, they did something similar. They had the Bourbon Junkies do a blend with this inventory. They had It's Bourbon Night do a blend with this inventory, and I have tried both of these. The Bourbon Junkies went a little more citrus forward, a little lighter, a little brighter, a little sweeter. The bottle from It's Bourbon Night leaned into like a little more dark, almost a cola note on it, a little more of the like actual Mizunara oak impact. Though they're both really good bottles of whiskey, and I have no idea if you could even buy these, what they cost. They just showed up in the mail. I have no freaking clue. But to me, if I voted, my vote would go to It's Bourbon Night. I really liked those kind of dark sweetness. I thought it added more complexity to it, and I thought overall their blend was better, which is crazy because going in, I would have said, if you would have gave me the tasting notes, I would have said that the Bourbon Junkie citrus forward, sweeter, brighter would have been where I would have leaned, but maybe that's me evolving. I don't know, maybe that's It's Bourbon Night just doing a great job on this blend. But overall, really interesting. I hope they continue doing more of these. Next up are a few small producers that I obtained through a few different ways. Bought this one in a hunt. I think this one just showed up in the mail, and I believe this one was gifted to me at Spillpay. So let's go with this Rocktown. Now, I've had some stuff from Rocktown. I think they got a pretty cool TikTok channel. Watch that sometimes, catch some of their lives. This is Arkansas whiskey. This is their Bottle and Bond at 100 proof. And I need to dive more into them. A lot of people like them. They come highly recommended. It's, again, kind of flavor notes that are not for everybody. If you're just mainstream Kentucky bourbon, if that's where you're at in your bourbon journey, this is probably not for you. If you're tiptoeing down into those like darker, stronger flavors, then maybe, right? That's where that Detling we talked about, that's where that Leaper's Fork we talked about. This is kind of in those veins. This almost to me smells like a Texas whiskey. It's got a dustiness all the way through, like an oak dustiness, like a sawdust. It is kind of leather and tobacco and red fruit. I would have said red fruit. I would have expected kind of what I got from Leaper's Fork. I would have expected some apricot. This particular bottle hits me with the oakiness up front, a little bit of like a dark sugar, but then it gets really bright really quickly. I gotta go back to even describe that. Hits me with that oak, lightens up, bright, almost like a light fruit, like a grape note on it or something. But I think that's just the sweetness kind of messing with me, the sweetness in the oak. I don't think that flavor's there. I think that's my imagination adding it. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of intense flavors here that are really interesting that I think folks would like. And so in that vein of a Detling, of a Leaper's Fork, we're gonna bring Leaper's Fork to everybody. We've got 3 barrel picks. I really want y'all's input on that because I think Rocktown is in that same vein of it's craft. It's not for everybody if you're just enjoying Kentucky whiskey. Like you gotta really be at that stage to where you want something different and unique and intense flavors. And I think there's a lot of us getting there. I don't think it's the masses necessarily, but instead of chasing the next good, interesting, fantastic, but kind of middle of the road allocated Kentucky release, like, can we get on board with craft, you know, heavy, dark flavors, but also really complex and interesting whiskey? I'm just starting to explore more of these, like, really complex, interesting, weird craft whiskeys that are done right. Let me know in the comments. I need to know as well. Are y'all at that point to where you're starting to explore more strongly flavored, like full-bodied, full-flavored craft whiskey? This whiskey wore double oaked, just male whiskey. Smells like a toasted barrel. Tastes like a toasted barrel. That kind of apricot light sweetness that you get on a toasted barrel. And so technically a toasted barrel is double oaked. And so I don't know if this was just a toasted barrel that they double oaked it into. It's not a bad whiskey. I don't think it's to the point to where I want to go out there and just start recommending it to folks. This right here is the white corn from King's Family. I tried that in the hunt video, so we're not going to try it here because we've got so much to go through, but was actually really good. It drops off a little bit on the finish. If I recall correctly, you'll see it in that video, but it was really, really interesting. We'll definitely pop this open here pretty soon. Give it a try, maybe in a live stream or something. This right here is an Elijah Craig 12-year small batch. I believe they call this the Pirate Bottle. I don't know if the Pirate Bottle requires a particular label, but it's an old school Elijah Craig bottle. Once you see the video of me getting that bottle, there's gonna be a percentage of the people that watch that are upset about how I obtained this bottle. But like, I do struggle with it a little bit because there are places I go where the clout plays, right? We joked about it early, and it's fun when the clout doesn't play, to be honest with you. When it doesn't and we can like play the underdog and joke about it, that's a lot of fun. But then there are places where it does indeed just help me get whiskey that you would not be able to get. And so I don't know what to do about that other than just take it, because I do want those bottles. If somebody says, oh my God, it's Brewzle, let me get you a really nice bottle, I want that bottle, but also we show that, right? And typically if the clout helps me get a bottle, you being a loyal customer and building the relationship also helps you get the bottle. You can't come in as a stranger as I did, but you could be a regular there and also get access to some cool bottles. And these both are examples of that. Got these both at the same store. This bottle was $27.99. That's the price tag right there. I joked, he brought it out, he's like, man, when's the last time you seen one of those? Found it back in the office, and I was like, for $27.99, I'll take it. And that's what they sold it to me for. That bottle was $28. And then they threw this in as a gift. Now, for those that might not know, I didn't realize these stickers have little writing on the inside there. And this one actually says that it is indeed a non-chill filtered pick from 2011. And so that's a 2011 screw top. The Antique 107s now are gold foil with a cork. But like, again, he had a box of stuff back there that looked like it was vintage or allocated or old picks or whatever, some of his back stock. And my assumption is that box was slowly getting rolled out to regular customers. We happened to come in at the right time and he gifted us this bottle. Be mad? There's not a lot I can do about it. We're not trying to ruin the hobby for everybody. I do feel bad sometimes when we get lucky and the clout plays, but I don't feel bad about getting those bottles because I do enjoy them. And the next bottle is Popcorn Sutton's Bourbon. Now, for those that don't know, Popcorn Sutton is a moonshining legend, and he is no longer with us. If you watch the show Moonshiners, you'll probably know more about Popcorn Sutton than I do. I've watched a little bit of Moonshiners, not all of the episodes, but he was an old timer. He liked to make moonshine, and he didn't really care for legality and taxes and laws and licenses and things like that. I think he was facing some pretty significant jail time, and he decided he would just check out. Not to downplay or diminish what is a very serious topic, but that's not the kind of channel that this is. So we're not gonna dive into that serious topic. I would pay a significant amount of money just to find out what Popcorn Sutton's thoughts were on somebody putting his face and likeness and name on a bottle of legal bourbon. He didn't make bourbon, he made moonshine. What's the difference? I guess technically legal licenses and aging it in a charred oak container. Now I think reading the bottle, this comes from Tennessee somewhere. Tennessee Distillers Group is the big contract distiller in Tennessee. There's a chance it's that. It could be other places. Could be Dickel. It's not Dickel. Yeah, I think it's TDG. A similar flavor profile to some of the Uncle Nearest stuff I've had. I know that's distilled at TDG. That's a good whiskey. There's nothing wrong with that whiskey whatsoever. There's nothing unusual or craft about it. It's also marketing at its finest. So congratulations. Hopefully at least the Sutton family owns this brand and benefits from it. And this next bottle is 10-year-old Bibb and Tucker at 96 proof. Now I like Bibb and Tucker puts no effort into the cork whatsoever. Like they went with this is a basic bottle with a basic cork. I'm also usually a little iffy of bottles that are colored, but that's 10-year-old bourbon. So, ooh, that actually smells really nice. Bright, sweet. It's kind of similar to that Popcorn Sutton that we just had in flavor profile. This is a small batch. They could have blended some stuff in there. It's a little more sophisticated than the Popcorn Sutton, but a similar flavor profile. There is a bit of that like familiar kind of dusty sweetness. They call this the Tennessee 10, so I assume this all came from Tennessee. If I had to guess, and this is pure speculation, I have no inside knowledge whatsoever, that has a little George Dickel in it. There's no serious minerality. There's some of the sweetness there up front from a George Dickel. That minerality to me turns into like a nice soft oakiness. If I had to guess, they're blending barrels of Tennessee Distillers Group, TDG, with a little George Dickel, but that's 100% speculation. What I do know is that's pretty good, and it's actually fairly complex for 92 proof whiskey. Pretty good job by Bibb and Tucker there on the Tennessee 10. I think I did buy this bottle, but also have no idea what I paid for it. I don't recall at this point. Next are a bunch of bourbon creams we bought at Barrelheads up there in Owensboro. Really what prompted this is I saw these two from Hard Truth, this rum cream in particular, and then this maple bourbon cream, and I was like, I've never had a rum cream, and then so I grabbed it, and then I saw these bourbon creams and the Buffalo Trace, which is the OG, like that's the one most people are searching for. So I wanted to try all of these versus that one. Spoiled milk note on that, which most bourbon creams are gonna have. Well, that's good. I didn't know rum cream was a thing. Like that's bright and sweet. That's actually pretty freaking good. If you like bourbon creams, you're not gonna be sitting here drinking it neat. It does have a little bit of that kind of malty milk note on it. Almost like a coconut note. Like the rum comes through with the cream. It's like almost like a coconut. So it's like a really sweet rum coconut note on it, which got me to buy their maple bourbon cream. So I assume this has got like a little maple syrup in it or something. I don't think I've ever had a maple bourbon cream, but how does that stack up to their rum? Smells like bourbon cream with maple, which is what it is. Don't love that. Me and maple though, me and maple. I still don't really know how to use bourbon cream. I drink a little coffee. I don't drink coffee enough to put stuff like this in it. I definitely don't want alcohol in it. I don't need a little pick-me-up alcohol in the morning. So I'm sure there's some mixed drinks in the evening we can make using these. I just don't know what that is. Next is a bottle of Jim Beam Red Stag. Not something I'm drinking a whole lot. Definitely not drinking this neat, but Will took this. I think it's a couple ounces of this, an ounce or half an ounce of sweet vermouth and Dr. Pepper, and it's one of the best things I've ever had in my entire life. A little Luxardo cherry with a little cherry syrup in there as well. And it's definitely the best mixed drink I've had with Dr. Pepper. And so this is a staple now. We have to have this on hand at all times in case we decide to start drinking those things. Next is a little Heritage Edition Paul Sutton. I cracked this open, I gave it a try. I like the Paul Sutton stuff. The single barrels we've had, we've bought a couple, And then we also like picked a single barrel for the club. I think this was a sleeper. In the drop it was in, a lot of people slept on it. It was one that made it far down our tier list. Most of the people who bought it that I talked to gave me a lot of positive feedback. They absolutely loved it, like brown sugar cola. This Heritage Edition is good. They went for a little more intense notes on those kind of dark sugars. I like it, it's good. I still prefer the single barrels to this Heritage Edition. So I think they're contract distilling this at Bardstown. So it's well-made whiskey. It's really good. It's their unique mash bill. If you like those kind of dark sugar cola notes, definitely try some Paul Sutton. But I also think this is one of those slept-on brands that could be producing some really fantastic stuff. I think they've got a great base to work with on their whiskey, and I'm excited to see what they come out with every time they release something special. Next is the Richard Petty Roaming Man Rye. Now, Roaming Man was the absolute first whiskey I tried where the raisin, like really dark red fruit notes spoke to me. And there's been several, like I said, there's some, the Leaper's Fork that we talked about earlier. This was the first one that's like, this could be a good tasting note. The Leaper's Fork is the first one where it's like, this could be a great tasting note. They started these with small barrels. And so small barrels, a lot of heat, tend to produce more of those dark red fruit notes, and this has some of those. Now, I know a lot of this Sugarland rye whiskey, Roaming Man Rye, has moved to large barrels, and I think that they've been able to keep a lot of those kind of raisiny dark fruit notes while taking away some of the oak tannins and making it a little more complex and sophisticated. And this smells fantastic. Again, rye tends to hold up to this better than bourbon does. If you handed me that, I'm not sure I would pick it as a rye whiskey. There's some rye in it, but would I say that's a rye or would I say that's a high rye bourbon? Because it is kind of those dark fruit, a little extra oak on this one versus some of the others I've had. And that oak with the red fruit kind of comes across like a tobacco note, and then kind of rye spice on the finish. Overall, I think they do a pretty good job with these, and I think people that try them that are into those more like intense craft whiskey flavors tend to really like these bottles. I don't know if Richard Petty had something to do with making this or if they just blended it for him. Who knows, but it's a good bottle. Next is a bottle of Wild Turkey 8-Year. We went up for the Wild Turkey 8-Year release. They had some content creators and writers and different things there. I've already tried it. It's really good. I mean, it's 101 proof. If you're going like whiskey nerd good on an 8-Year, I need more proof points. But for 101, this is actually really good. For those that don't know, Wild Turkey 101 used to be 8-year age stated. And then at some point when they wanted to lower their cost, they wanted to use younger whiskey, whatever, they decided to drop that age statement. And so 101's typically like 6 to 8-year-old whiskey, and they have the 8-year export and the 12-year export. Now the 12 is my favorite out of all of them. It's absolutely freaking fantastic. Last year they did the Jimmy Russell 70th anniversary, 70th year of him working at that distillery. And so they released that as an 8-year product. And it was kind of hard to find around here. I found a lot of it out west, which is where I got my couple of bottles that I own of it. This is same whiskey, a little different blend. I pick up a little more of those like Camp Nelson red fruit notes on this blend than I do the 70th, so I like this one better. It's $45-ish. It's probably gonna be hard to find right away, like this first batch, but they're expecting this to be sitting on shelves everywhere long term. So you're going to be able to find one of these sooner or later for that $45-ish mark. I don't know if there's a whole lot for $45 that you can buy better than that at almost any liquor store. So I have no idea what the bottle count is up to. I'm sure there's one up in the corner at this point, but we're probably 50 to 60 bottles this month that we got in. We don't include all small bottles. I don't include open bottles. I do have a couple of open bottles folks gave me at Spillway that we're not including in that. This is Melwood Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, and this one says Melwood on the back, but on the front it is Derbytown 7-year barrel proof. These are from the folks at Pursuit Spirits, I believe. We're gonna try the 7-year cask strength right here. Oh, that smells nice. That's good whiskey. That's that quintessential Kentucky bourbon, but like really good 7-year-old Kentucky bourbon. Not unusual, not weird. A little spiciness through the mid palate, like settles into like this kind of muddy orange zest. And I say muddy, not because it's bad. I say muddy because There's several flavors I'm getting there, and they're all kind of blended together in a way that I can't distinguish them all. It's like an orange caramel. If I had the words, I think there are better ways of picking out those flavors. Spiciness coming through, caramel undertone, almost like an orange caramel, and then the spiciness dissipates and you get that kind of orange caramel on the finish. I'm a big fan of that bottle there. I tried this one. This one's pretty good. That one is definitely I mean, obviously it's a 7-year age dated, so that is definitely the one to buy. This right here is the Short Barrel Founders Reserve hazmat bottle. I had to put my peepers on to confirm that I'm seeing what I'm seeing, but that's 147.7 proof points right there. If you watch this channel, if you're in the Brewzle Club for sure, you know Short Barrel by now. And there are a lot of people online that maybe are not in the Brewzle Club that are big fans of Short Barrel. They've got their own Facebook groups like Short Barrel for a NDP, for a non-distilling producer. I don't know one right now off the top of my head that is doing things better than Short Barrel is doing. I definitely don't know one that is not like corporate funded that's doing things better than Short Barrel. They are making all the right moves. They are building this cult fan base on social media, and a lot of it is just weird stuff like this. Like, where did they get 147 proof whiskey? Oh my God. That, like, it's so intense, kind of dusty red fruit. It tastes more like some of the vintage whiskeys I've had than most of the modern stuff. Like, it has some of those same notes that I'm gonna get on like an old Stitzelweller. And it delivers on all of those. There's a little bit of those like scorched sugars that you get on a rum. That's what I get on a lot of that dusty Stitzelweller stuff. Dark brown sugar rolling into a hint of molasses. That is a super over the top, overwhelming complex whiskey that does not drink anywhere like 147 proof points. Dude, if a big distillery put that out, that's a $2,000 bottle. I need to hit them up and see like who distilled that whiskey and the specifics behind it. Like, what proof was it when it went into the barrel? What environment did that live in to get to that 147 proof points? Next are some bottles that showed up in the mail from LF. This is the Bloodline Heritage Georgetown, 6-year-old Kentucky. I don't know what order to read all of this stuff, but this is Limestone Heritage Distilling Company. Says it's bottled by them, so I think these are sourced whiskeys of some sorts. That's fine whiskey. There's nothing wrong with that whiskey. It's good whiskey. They've sourced good stuff. It kind of has some of that orange zest notes on it. They're a little, as I said earlier, muddied, right? So there's not like this crisp evolution of flavors all the way through. It's kind of that sweet citrus caramel all the way through with a couple of things kind of coming in and out. I like it. It's not the most complex whiskey in the world, which is what I'm looking for. If it gave me all sorts of stuff up front, mid palate, and on the finish, you know, that were good, but the finish was muddied, like I don't even remember which one I used that term on earlier, that's fine. But if it's muddy all the way through, it's just good whiskey. And I don't know what these cost. That may be, if that's an affordable bottle, this one's better, a little oakier, a little more going on, 113.6 proof. Overall, pretty good. Like, there's nothing wrong with these. They're good whiskey. I like that one a little better than that 6-year over there. This is their select batch right here at 111 proof. I feel like I owe this one a little try here. So it got better at cask strength. I don't know if those are exactly the same thing, but got better at cask strength. It's a good bridge in between. For me, the one I would like the best is the higher proof, the black label. This is kind of an in-between of those. This one is good, but the flavors just don't jump out in a really complex way. This one with the extra heat comes through, a little more oak involved on it. This one is kind of an in-between. If this company had distilled these whiskeys, these are really good. But if this company sourced them, they're good. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, in general, I'm gonna stop reading them, I think. Because in general, these are good whiskeys. They've sourced good whiskey. They're putting out good whiskey from this brand, but there's nothing here that I've tried that is wildly distinctively different than other stuff I've tried that is sourced. And that's why when something's MGP, I'm like, okay, They source from MG Pink. It's good, and so I like this whiskey. I don't know where they got it. It's good whiskey. They bought good stuff. They put it in a bottle. We're gonna do the same thing. Like, we're literally doing the same thing. So I'm not saying anything that we're not figuring out and going through ourselves, but how is this different enough for me to promote it? And if it tasted exactly the same and they said they distilled it, I would talk to y'all about it more. I would be more excited about it than they sourced it and it tastes like this. I'm at a place where I'm looking for distinct and unique and different so that I can bring that to y'all and say, dude, this is different than anything you've ever had and I think you'll like it. And this is not that. This is just good whiskey. This Black Label in particular though, nice, soft, dusty graham cracker note on it. That reminds me of some of the cask strength Elijah Craig's I've had without the notes I don't like about a cask strength Elijah Craig. It's not particularly distinct enough, like a strongly distinct flavor. That goes back to like Kentucky distillate in general. Most Kentucky distilleries are trying to do that quintessential Kentucky distillate that appeals to the masses. If you like bourbon, you're gonna like this. And that seems to be what this is. That's just good bourbon. Next, we're gonna go through a few bottles that I have purchased recently. This was the first ever Heaven Hill bonded single barrel pick I've ever seen, so I bought it. It's good. It's good whiskey. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not distinctly different than the small batch. I don't know if Heaven Hill has just picked barrels that are like in that same profile, or if this store just picked one that was kind of close to the normal profile, because a lot of stores will do that. They don't want the wildly different, unique, interesting bottle. They want something that if you like Heaven Hill Bonded, you'll buy this and you'll be satisfied with it. I want wildly different. Like honestly, if you just handed me that, said this is Heaven Hill Bonded, I'd been like, sure, got it. Next is this bottle right here, and this is the Elliott Brothers Reserve 10-year-old finished in Malbec cask. Hate to see 10-year-old whiskey get finished, but sometimes it turns out good. Jill is a drinker of Malbecs. She loves Malbec. She was just talking to me the other day. She's like, have you ever had a Malbec finished whiskey? And I was like, I don't even know if Malbecs are put in a barrel. I have no freaking clue. She was insisting on, if that's the case, we should, like, maybe we're the first ones, we could do a Malbec finish. I was like, I'm down to try that. And then I saw this one finished in Malbec barrel. The problem is it has a little note of burnt hair. Not on the whiskey itself, that's on the wine finish. And so I get that note on a lot of port finish, a lot of Angel's Envy port finish. For example, Angel's Envy sent us 3 samples of port finish single barrels. 2 of them tasted like burnt hair, the third one did not. And when it does not have that note, it is fantastic. But apparently with the port barrels, they use some sort of sulfur-based something, I don't even know, to treat those barrels to try to keep them from spoiling while they're shipping them, selling them, doing those kind of things. And sometimes, often, those barrels end up creating these sulfur compounds that taste like burnt hair. And I think this Malbec barrel was the same. So I really think if you're gonna do a really good Malbec port finish, you have to buy those barrels directly from whoever's making the wine, and you have to have those shipped and used really fast because you don't want that treatment. It's not like a super strong note. It's just subtle, and it makes me not like it. This right here was a Green River Wheated I bought because I didn't think I had a Green River Wheated. I wanted one the other day. I tried to find it. I couldn't find it. I bought this one, then I found it. That's just how that works with our level of disorganization we're at right now. This is a Sagamore 9-year. I'm a fan of Sagamore rye. Like, they make good stuff, and this 9-year was absolutely no exception to that. That is a fantastic bottle of whiskey. Next up is a Larrikin, where they brewed their own rose water and used the rose water to proof this thing down. I am an amateur, a virgin, as you would say, when it comes to rose water. I don't know anything about rose water. I've never tried rose water in my life, and so I cannot speak to good or bad rose water. That actually smells pretty good. And it tastes pretty, like that's just pretty good whiskey. There's definitely some kind of floral notes there that I assume are coming from the rose water. That's interesting, and I think if like the whole it's rose water really like intrigues you, that's probably worth a try. It is 86 proof, but there's a lot going on. Like with the Rosewater, there's a lot of complexity and a lot of different flavors there. And so for me to say an 86 proof whiskey is interesting, that really says something. It's not a bottle I want another one of, but that bottle being Rosewater will definitely get drank here because I'm gonna share that with a lot of people just to get their thoughts on, and hopefully find some people that know something about Rosewater. Like somebody that doesn't like Rosewater, I could give them a try this. I didn't know Rosewater was a thing, but apparently there are people brewing it and they're proofing down whiskey with it. These are a few bottles we picked up at Spillway. And so these come from Distillery Acadienne. We've got a couple of bottles of their vodka, a couple of bottles of their single malt. Now we have a couple of barrels of this single malt coming to the Brewzle Club. This one is of that same lot. They had about 10 barrels, we picked 2. This is the one that Spillway picked. It is milk chocolate for days. I'm not a single malt guy. This is good whiskey. And it's gonna be interesting because he only has 10 barrels. Now they're super small barrels, so we bought 2. 2 is only like 60 to 80 bottles tops. And so it's not a lot of whiskey he has left, and he has stopped producing these because they don't sell. They're American single malts. Literally the first ever officially licensed American single malt. Like he was the first one to get his label approved under the American single malt designation once that popped up and was like officially sanctioned. If you like milk chocolate, if you like those chocolate notes, you're gonna like this single barrel. This was if you watched that video, this was the bottle they did for 5th Squad. Definitely gonna pop that open and enjoy that as well. We've got a couple of Crittenden's bottles. This is the Black Walnut bottle. I thought Black Walnut would be a little too harsh. It's not, it's really good. But this Wampus Cat, which I think is some sort of like black currant finish barrel. I don't know, they couldn't specify on the label. I can't remember exactly what it was, but this was actually the standout. I love that out of all of the really new Crittenden's things. This one, which is called Wampus Cat Rye Whiskey. But again, it's part of that like rye whiskey holds up to finish a whole lot better than bourbon does. You can do a lot of really strongly flavored things to rye and it still end up being super complex and interesting. So the Wampus Cat, really, really good addition to the Crittenden's lineup. And now we've got a couple of bottles from Borchetta. This has something to do with racing. There's a freaking race car right there on top of it. I'm not going to pop that and try this in this video. I want to try this for the first time. We're about to shoot a short with this, and I definitely want to try that then. This is the Borchetta Bourbon Small Batch. They sent us a fancy box here. They sent us some golf balls. We'll be happy to I'm keeping them, Will. I'm keeping them. I need to get out. I need to start playing golf. But we do have a little Borchetta small batch. There's some golf tees stuck down in here as well, a bunch of them, and some sort of tag that tells us about this. So we will try this, although we're gonna wait on that. And I like going out on the hunt, I really do, but male whiskey is actually my favorite because I don't have to do anything. It just shows up at the house and we've got good whiskey. Now, I wish some of the big brands would send me some of the allocated limited stuff, but realistically, y'all gonna buy all that anyway. They don't want anybody to talk about it. Like, you don't need help selling BTAC. You just don't. You don't need help doing it. So this is Borchetta Small Batch. Now, I have never had this. I'd never even looked at this bottle, really, so. Oh, this is Big Machine. The Borchetta name is synonymous with success, blah, 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 blah. Big Machine Distillery, did they distill this? Nashville, Tennessee. I don't know, maybe they distilled it. You could not put where it was distilled. You could put a state on here, and as long as it was distilled in that state, you're pretty good. So it's pretty clever if they didn't distill it. Even better if they did. I think my Swifties in my house are not gonna like the Big Machine reference. I don't really know why, but there's a reason. Interesting. That definitely has more of a craft note to it. That is definitely more oak tobacco, like Texas whiskey than I would have expected out of a Tennessee distillate. And it's that is tobacco. It's soft, it's light, but that is definitely a very like tobacco forward note on the flavor profile. If you like Texas whiskey, you're probably gonna really like this. If you're a cigar smoker, you might really like this. And I'm not saying that's not like super high proof, super flavorful to cut through cigar smoke, so it's not like a cigar blend, but it is definitely very like kind of tobacco forward. It's got a little like a harshness that almost tastes like a scotch. Not sure what they've done there, but that definitely is more of a craft whiskey than some like quintessential Kentucky, Tennessee style bourbon. So I think that's it. The problem is I'm not 100% sure we actually got everything in here. Like there were so many and we are running out of space. And so I'm trying to move this whole facility, this whole studio out of my house to create more space. We need it. It's probably gonna take a year to do so, especially with the distillery build going on right now. I've got to finish that before I can worry about anything else. It's going to be a mess for the next year, but another 50 to 60 bottles added to the selection. Y'all let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Anything here really stood out? Any bottle out of this list you're looking for? I appreciate you watching all the way to the end. We'll see you in the next one.